Hello, everyone, and welcome back to EduMatch Connect. Super excited to say those words. I know it's been a long time. Shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to, but we're super excited to have y'all back. So thank you for everyone for joining us for the new EduMatch Connect. So it's no longer tweet and talk because we're not really on Twitter, but we are still talking and we are still connecting. So it just felt appropriate. EduMatch Connect. So just wanted to thank you all so much for being here. Let me just check yep. Okay. So we are all good. So thank you so much to our panelists, to our attendees. Mandy's going to be here to help with the chat. And thank you to everyone who laid the foundation for this to become a possibility. Huge shout out to Tammy Neal, Amanda Lanasek, and Melissa Eddington, who initially, helped me brainstorm what Tweet and Talk would be. And thank you all for being here for the revival. So we're super excited and making a comeback. So just to lay out a little bit how this is going to look for today, we're going to do a welcome and some introductions, which we're kind of doing right now. Then we're going to get into our panel discussion and chat. So you'll see a little bit how the format has shifted, but it's going to be very similar. In addition, if we have time and if we have questions for the panelists, we have a Q&A functionality that we can use. So if you have, if you're answering the chat questions or if you're back channeling, feel free to use chat. But if you have questions specifically for the panelists, then please feel free to drop them in Q&A. And if we have time, then we will revisit that at the end. And lastly, we have a couple of invitations for you. So we will share that. And we also have a super special announcement that we'd love to share. All right. So before we get cracking, let's see where we've been. Here's a brief history of Tweet and Talk. So did you know that the very first EduMatch Tweet and Talk took place 10 years ago, a decade ago, May 31st, 2015. So we're just shy of that 10-year mark, but we're just about there for all intents and purposes. And it's short linked here in case anybody wants to see it, but here's a little snippet.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever EduMatch Tweet and Chat. My name is Sarah Thomas, at Sarah the Teacher. I'm the founder of EduMatch, but we are all EduMatch. So we have here a panel of experts, and you'll see that we are all experts as our...
Okay, oh, it cut off, but if you didn't blink, then you might have seen Faginator right here on the bottom. So she was there for the very first one. Josue has also been on Tweet and Talk several times, and so has Jeff. So we really love having y'all here. And if you are attending right now, you want to be on panel, we would love to have you. Now that you're signed up for this course and you have access to it, just go to Module 3. There's a form you can fill out and just choose which episodes you'd like to be part of. And we'd love to have you share your insight and your expertise. Okay, so Tweet and Talk, fun facts. We've had 146 episodes recorded. The final official one actually took place about 5 years ago, which was January 5th, 2020. So it's super exciting to bring this back. The last one was actually on AI, which is very interesting because it's before, we had this big boom of generative AI. So it would be interesting to compare that one to a future one that I'm sure that we'll have on AI. We did bring back briefly an EduMatch community forum where we again talked about AI in January of 2023, but the last Tweet and Talk was 2020, and now it's rebranded to EduMatch Connect. So let's just talk a little bit about how this works before we dive into it. So the panelists will answer the questions on screen, and you all, as a panelist, you can answer as few or as many of the questions as you'd like. And if you're participating in the chat, then you can go ahead and answer them in the chat, but please share out your learning using hashtag EduMatch, and feel free to invite people to join the conversation. If you have any questions for the panelists, drop those in Q&A and we'll address them if we have time. And please make sure to just set the chat to everyone if you have not already done so. So yes, and I'm checking the chat right now. Lots to celebrate, absolutely. All right, so are y'all ready to rumble? Okay, all right, our panelists are ready. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a quick lightning round where everyone can introduce themselves in approximately 30 seconds. We're not going to time you, but I have your pictures and bios on screen and I'll demonstrate how this looks, but feel free to also call out your socials, okay? So kicking it off, I'm the facilitator. My name is Sarah, and I'm the founder and CEO of EduMatch. And EduMatch, what we do in a nutshell is that we create spaces for educators to learn and grow together, and we help to forge those deeper connections so that we can come together and master our craft together. Lots of togetherness in that. So I've taught and I've been in education for 20 years. Taught everything from first to 12th grade, as well as in a master's of ed tech program, specializations, technology, and English language arts. All right. So I am going to pass the mic next to my brother, Josue Fales. So on you, Doc.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Josue Fales, the founder and CEO of Gomo Educational Services, as well as the founder and CEO of Gomo Travel Services. We are an institute that provides PD and executive level training to anyone and everyone that deals with children, both directly and indirectly. And our secret sauce is that whatever we do with you today, you can execute tomorrow, guaranteed. And then in our travel services, we are bringing people an edutourism experience in the Gambia. So if you're interested, follow up with me at gomotravs, the handles, and gomotravservices.com.
Excellent. And look at you. You have a whole new business I'm learning about. So this is dope. All right, fantastic. All right, we're going to go next to the Faginator.
Hi, my name is Leslie Fagan. I think this is year 21 in education. And before then, I was in nonprofit, worked for the Girl Scouts. That was a lot of fun. But now I am knee deep in instructional technology as a coach at a school district in Georgia. I have been doing this. I think this is the end of my 14th year. So I'm excited to be back. And I didn't realize that I was on the very first Tweet and Talk. I think I missed that. I'm excited to be here and connect with people and just learn more. I'm currently doing some robotic stuff, hoping to take our team that hasn't even formed to the VEX Worlds next year. That's my goal, but I don't even have a team yet, but we're going. So looking forward to talking about professional learning today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Faginator. Great to have you back. And last and certainly not least, then we have Jeff.
It is good to see everybody. Thank you, Dr. Sarah, for having me on. My name is Jeff Bradbury, and a great educator from Connecticut. Looking forward to having a good conversation with everybody. You can find out more information about all the great stuff I'm doing over on the TeacherCast Educational Network.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you so much to everybody on panel as well as everybody in chat. All right, so featured resource for today. So this is a new thing that we're trying to do for EduMatch Connect. I almost called it Tweet and Talk. So just posting a resource up. It might be an EduMatch material. It might be something outside, but just ways to get kind of more information. So this is a brand new resource created by EduMatch that helps guide all of our professional learning. And the questions for tonight will be rooted in this framework, like tangentially related to it. But I can't wait to hear the expertise and the insight of the panel. So this is our brand new Connect framework with the 7 pillars of professional learning that we have there. So we have community, ongoing, so not just a one and done, needs-based, so meeting specific needs of participants. My closed captions are covering the other end, but I believe that's navigable. So, having those clear action steps for folks. Engaging, so not the sage on the stage, we're doing a guide on the side. Culturally responsive, so making sure we have our windows, our mirrors, and our sliding glass doors. And last but not least, transformative, so leading to real change in professional learning. So you'll see some questions that might be inspired by this Connect framework. But in the words of Marvin Gaye, we're about to get it on in a family-friendly way. This is a family-friendly show. So, all right, so let's go ahead and connect. So the very first question to the panel, and please also answer in chat, what's the most powerful professional learning experience you've ever had and what made it work? Anyone can feel free. Well, actually, you know what? Let's just go down the line if that's cool with y'all. I'll just go from my view. I see the Faginator up first, then I see Dr. Josue, then I see Jeff.
Okay, this is a challenging question, but I want to say that my most powerful professional learning experience, it's actually a tie, and both of them have to do with Google. I had the opportunity in 2017 to go to DC for the Google Innovator Academy. And then I think it might have been last year, I went out to California for the Google Champion Symposium. And both of those things, and not because they were, affiliated with Google, but just because of the community of educators that came from around the world. In my school district, we're here in Georgia, but in my school district, we're, international, but it's kind of sort of like I'm the tech coach there. We have one other, and we aren't sharing resources with people from everywhere. When you go to a Google event and you have all of these people, all of the people were there for the same reason, because we want to see education change. We want to be the change maker. And having the opportunity to spend 3 days with people who have the same passion that I do, that was, I'm going to say, soul filling, and I don't want it to sound trite, but it was, because I don't get that in my day-to-day life. I love the work that I do, the people that I work with, but having the connections with people from everywhere and to still have those connections, that's what we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. All right, let's go next to Josue.
This is not I'm not throwing out a pitch, but I have to say one of the more recent PD trainings that my company did for this school district. We were going in to do a restorative work training with them, restorative practices. And it seemed that everybody came with all these high hopes and not wanting to learn, because they were voluntold to the data that was received as far as the need for us to come in. But what we do is we model everything for them. So I modeled an experience that someone harmed me, and went through those restorative questions. But I mean, I absolutely kept it real, totally vulnerable. And when the other people, because they saw me how I modeled the vulnerability, then they end up being vulnerable to each other, and it broke the barrier, which allowed us to do a lot of different things. And I can't believe after, by the end, so it was just, first of all, connecting before we did the content. Then it was more relationship driven activities. Then it got a chance to speak to each other, which they never do. They're really focused on academics. So it's more like, when do we get to this restorative practice stuff? It's like, no, calm down. Let's slow down. Let's just get to know each other. And it allowed this. So like we've done like maybe about 7, 8, maybe 9, maybe even 10 trainings since then. And every time it just keeps better, because of just laying that foundation, taking the time to get this, the personal, to kind of understand where we're at. It allowed everyone to see like each other's values, which is aligned to the district values. And then just ending it off with so in restorative practice, you have an opening circle and a closing circle. So the closing circle, each and every single time we met, they allowed to see hope. So if you don't have hope in that closing circle, then it's not really restorative. And if you don't have something with interconnectedness in the beginning. So we ended off with hope in each and every single time, that they were like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for Gomo to come back. So again, starting off in that pattern of just connecting first before you get to content, then they're seeing just the progression of the concepts, and then ending off with hope. That's been the power that I've seen in professional learning that, again, we've done with our company, with even just the most recent one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you said that you modeled that for them at the beginning. So that's definitely powerful. All right, great. And how about you, Jeff?
Well, I think this is a loaded question here. You and I have been through so many great professional sessions. I was thinking back, EduMatch is, what is it, Sarah? It's how you're 10 years old, 12 years old. How long have you been doing this?
Yeah, we're like 10 and a half.
We've been doing this for a long time. Teacher Cast is going to be 14 years old in July. Like, we've been doing this a lot. We've been through ISTEs. We've been through the Google trainings. We've been through the innovator trainings. Even like yesterday, I had the opportunity to go to the Google Innovator we had a good time in the Google headquarters in New York City, right? Lots of good stuff, but it's hard to say what's the most powerful professional learning. I think I'm going to have to give the hack answer here, but seeing the stuff that my kids are doing and knowing that we are both learning from each other, and seeing how they're taking the stuff that you and I are talking about right now, and they're in the other room right now listening to this, seeing them soak it in and then feed it back to me. I think that's been an amazing experience. They're 11 years old, and I don't know if that's believable or not, but just, being there with them. They presented at ISTE, they presented with Google, they presented all these different places now. And I don't know how you can get more powerful than being a parent. You know that one.
Yes. And you said they're 11. My goodness.
Gonna be in middle school.
Wow, I thought they were like 7 now or something like that, but my goodness, time flies. But yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So love these answers from all three of you, and also from the chat. Elizabeth saying, for me, it was when I told a personal story during my PD presentation, and several colleagues come up to me after And Happy Tears saying, I was afraid to tell my story, and here you are. I love that. That's really powerful. And Mandy's also saying one of the most powerful experiences was working with instructional coaches on student-centered coaching, and we dug into coaching reluctant teachers, which of course brought up educator mental health. They were able to employ more empathy for the teachers who were reluctant learners and really had a mindset change. Love that. So such powerful stories here. And just reminding everyone, hello to everyone who just joined us. Just feel free to use the chat to share your own responses to these questions because we want to learn from you. All right. So the second one, how do you ensure that professional learning feels collaborative and not compliance driven? So we will go backwards this time. We'll just go forwards and backwards and backwards and forwards. There's some song on Miss Rachel that goes like that, forwards, backwards. So we'll do that. So Jeff, could you share your thoughts on this, please?
You know, for that, I have to put on my instructional coach hat, right? Like it's about we, it's not about me. I always start with what are your goals? What are you trying to figure out? How can this help you? You know, I remember the early days of being an instructional coach where it's, hey, here's my agenda and how can I bring that to you? It just doesn't work that way. In order to be collaborative, it always has to be about them. And so making sure that things are collaborative it's the instructional coach way, right? What do you need? How can we help you get there? And once you kind of shift that mindset, you kind of realize that, okay, we can get there together. We can figure this out. And we can meet each other's goals together.
Absolutely. That co-creation piece. Love it. All right. What about you, Josue?
Ditto to what Jeff stated, but also when I work with our partners, it's finding out what is your why and what is the ultimate thing you want to be able to walk out with, like the tangible deliverable. Like, what is that one thing or two things? So that way, because you told us that one thing, even though maybe you couldn't specifically spell it out, it's our job as, supporters, instructional facilitators, vendors, companies, whatever, to kind of guide them to that. And it shows how to collaborate. So, and even more so, let's say we design something and they realize maybe that doesn't fit. So it's like, it's like a project management professional where we're saying, okay, an agile thing of, okay, let's change that. How does that look for you? Okay, great. So it's constantly looking to iterate as you're working with the person that we're supporting in PD or professional learning.
Absolutely. So I'm hearing a lot of flexibility. So love that. Love that. And how about you, Faginator?
As an instructional technology coach, a lot of times our teachers come to our professional learning not necessarily because they want to, but because there is a new initiative that we're rolling out. We moved over from Google Classroom to Canvas, I think 2 years ago, maybe 3. And unfortunately, a lot of our people were believing that Canvas would quietly go off into the sunset and that we would bring Google Classroom back. I love Google Classroom. However, we needed something a little bit more robust. They were convinced that it wasn't going to work. So I just started with something basic. The learning framework that we use, our teachers have to do an opening, a work session, and the closing. How can we use Canvas with that framework? Well, they're due now. We can put it in there, have the speed grader grade it, and then it's like, oh, wow, what a concept. They can have something that we can get the grade immediately and you get the feedback. So once they see how easy it is to use the technology tools that we have and that we're not just using tech for the sake of using it, then they are a little bit more agreeable. I have to put it into their world. I'm an English teacher by trade, but to show them how they can use it in a math classroom, making videos, the math notations, all of that stuff, then they start to realize, okay, this is not just something that we've spent a lot of money on. This is going to benefit my students. It's going to benefit me. So just giving them that glimpse of what it can do to make their lives easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love that. Like figuring how it fits into what they're already doing and also bringing that relevance. And I see that Doc wants to add a little bit. So go ahead.
Leslie, thank you for you triggering something. Whenever people think they're learning a new initiative, they just keep adding on initiative. Initiative is basically making more compliance. One thing that I've always done, even as a principal, saying like, how do we add new things but show coherence? So it shows it's a connection from one thing to the next. That it's just growing and it has meaning. So even if it's 10 things, if they all have this like one objective, all those 10 activities or 10 concepts, if it connects and scaffolds, that's when they see that they can be collaborating. It's not all compliance and initiative fatigue.
Absolutely. So finding those connections to the existing pieces. Absolutely love that. All right. Great thoughts, everyone. So our next question, and we'll start with Leslie for this one. What's a small but meaningful way we can better notice and respond to educator needs when planning professional learning? Because so many times we go into sessions and people are all over the place. So how do we work through that?
I've been working with one of the teachers here in our district. We're finished with state testing, so they have the liberty of doing some things that they normally don't get to do during the school year. So she wanted her students to do a podcast, and I've been working with them on getting that off the ground. And she was mentioning that in her graduate program, she had to do a video and she was using Google Vids. She didn't know the first thing about it. And she said before she could do her project, she had to teach herself how to use it. And then that got me to thinking, well, we're getting ready to do our professional learning for new teacher orientation and planning for next year. That's something that probably we need to offer training on, because a lot of times our teachers in their outside life, they're doing something and they need to know how to do something, but they don't have the tools. So just listening to what they're saying and then responding, that would be a good way for us to teach others how to do, what it is that they need to do. So we're going to offer that. Also, feedback forms. And a lot of times our people don't want to do it because they're so dadgum long. Mine are not long. Did you get what you needed? Who are you? If you want more help. If you don't want or need more help, you don't have to tell me who you are, but what can I do to make this better? And they appreciate that, because I'm not asking them 20 questions.
I love that, making it very simple to give you that feedback. So that is great. All right. What about you, Josue?
Leslie took basically all the responses. So the survey is the quick thing. And even if it's like looking at the most highest priority needs, or like in business, we look at SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, see those weaknesses and threats. And if they're like delineated already, so you can actually put these topics that say, hey, these are the 4 things that are really challenging us, but what do you need that's going to really help, climate, culture, or even effectiveness and self-efficacy? If you identify that for them and they just say, these are the things, that way it's real quick. Like you said, if the quickest way that they don't have to spend any time focusing and any brain power, and then you're really going to follow through. So it's not just asking, but you have to follow through. If you're not going to do that, then it's just waste time. It's just something else that you're going to do and waste their time. So survey, identify quickly, follow through. Those 3 things.
I love that. I love that. Fantastic. All right, great. And how about you, Jeff?
I'm going to defer to the podcaster in me and just keep asking questions. I mean, everybody here had some great answers and solutions. I don't think there's anything I can add on to that other than just keep asking questions, making sure that you're meeting their needs and hearing their voices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's that through line from all 3 of you, just making sure that we listen to our participants. And I wanted to say hello to anyone who may have just joined us. So please feel free to also share your thoughts in chat, as I'm seeing that folks have done. I see that Mandy has asked them what they would like to learn and what they need to learn, and lean into both of them. And Elizabeth is saying the feedback form provides participants with a voice and value, hence returning to your next professional learning, and working with the admin team to create a brainstorm form at the end of the year. Quick form for the colleagues to provide ideas, what they'd like to learn next year regarding professional learning, reviewing it, and then executing. Great ideas, everybody. So really, really love this. Okay, getting to our next question. So thinking about like extending the learning to make sure it's ongoing, how can we better leverage networks, both internal and external, to sustain learning beyond a single session or day? So not that one and done, but keeping it going. What are your thoughts? And we'll start with Jeff.
I think the easiest answer, and this one better than anybody here, build one yourself, right? Like TeacherCast started because I needed to have answers to questions for the things that I was doing. So I created a podcast, which turned into a network, which turned into a newsletter, which turned into If I have any questions, I just go on to my newsletter and there's thousands of people right there. No different than the great work that's happening here in EduMatch. Again, I love the work that we're doing with the ISTE Community Leaders Group and Microsoft Innovators and Google Champions and all those other wonderful ambassador groups. But build one your own, build one yourself. Go out there and start creating content on a topic that people are going to draw themselves to. Then you have a network. That's really your network as opposed to being a part of other people's networks. And I think if we all kind of had the ability to reach out and find people on specific topics, I think that's a very valuable thing that we could have in our lives right now.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I see a great question in the chat. If y'all want to just kind of put eyes on that, because I'm going to ask you all that question in a second. But let me go next to Josue.
I don't know how to add to that. Jeff did it all. As he said, I'm gonna just stick to Jeff saying build your own, but then like we started with the PLN for EduMatch. I know we did the Saturday mornings with the principals, the administrators. So there's many different chats that don't exist anymore, but it's just basically finding a chat or a group. There's different communities in like Instagram and Facebook, as again, Jeff related to that. It's just continuing on. Also, while people may jump in temporarily, like you said, both the short term, but the long term is really looking at how the depth that people can offer, but you can also offer to them. So it's like when you jump in, are you contributing from a today, you're for 10 minutes, an hour, or are you looking at for sustainability where the people are coming to you, you're going to them. So like for an example, like you and I, we're starting EduMatch 2013. Here it is 2025. I still call on you, you call on me, and that's how that's sustainable. So it's not just I think we started with just ed tech at first, but now we've moved on to many different topics to support each other. So it's more than a network now. It's a brother and sisterhood.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Okay, great. And what about you, Leslie?
Okay, you never call me Leslie. That was different.
Sorry, Faginator, my bad.
Oh, that's fine. And actually, this is a little off topic. In high school, from 9th grade until probably I was in my mid-20s, nobody called me Leslie. I told everybody that I was Buddhist, and I'm not, but everybody called me Buddha. So when somebody would call me Leslie, I'm like, uh-oh, who are they talking to? So when people who don't normally call me Leslie calls me that, it's different. But let me get back to the question at hand. If y'all want to call me Buddha, call me whatever. I don't care. The question says, how do we go beyond the day? One of the things that I used to do an awful lot, but I got out of it because parenting is more than a full-time job. I used to blog a lot. And I like to blog because one, it helps me remember what I'm doing, and I'm documenting what I'm doing so somebody else possibly can learn. Like when I did my Google Innovator project, I documented that so that anybody else, if they wanted to replicate my project, they could go to my blog and they could look at it. And now that I'm starting this robotics team, I'm planning to revisit my blog because I want there to be a history of what it is that we've done in my community, because there are good things that are out there and other people can go and say, oh, look what they're doing. And then I can also read other people's blogs. And I kid you not, I'm a little late to the podcasting game, but I'm starting to listen to podcasts because I like that learning. I used to be a professional student, but after my last degree, I said, I'm done. So there will not be a Dr. Faginator, sadly, but I just need to focus on some other things right now. But, listening to other people and documenting what you do, because we have to have some way of going back and looking. And I can't remember things. It helps me to have it in a place. And also it makes for a good chuckle to go back and see what I thought was important, when I first started my teaching career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that process of documenting is very powerful. Shout out to Regina Schaefer. She challenged me at one point to try to blog every day, and I tried. I got to maybe like day 20, but it didn't go all school year. But going back and looking at those blogs, I just love being able to revisit that and revisit the learning. So That is awesome. That is awesome. And thank you to everybody in chat. And thank you to everybody who's just joining us as well. Please feel free to drop your answers to these questions in chat or any questions that you have. And feel free to also use a Q&A if you have a question for our panelists. I wanted to go to the chat really quickly where Mandy said, surround yourself with experts. I know that I don't need to know everything because I can ask the people who know better than I do in certain areas. It's actually a relief to know you don't need to know everything. And there was a great question also where a participant in the chat was being very vulnerable that it's a little scary sometimes to start your own PLN. And so Jeff says that he has several items on TeacherCast to help get people started. You can visit teachercast.net, jeffreybradbury.com, and teachercast.net/newsletter. So thank you for that. Okay, great. So for this final question, I'm going to throw a curveball in the mix. So Josue, I know that I've been going to everybody else first, so we're going to start with you on this last one. So this question is, what role does empathy play in designing or facilitating professional learning that resonates?
Since we're being vulnerable and I'm going first, I might as well model it. Not every time that you design professional learning, it sticks with people. You need to know, one, what are their needs, and then also what are some potential pitfalls. I call it failing forward. If I were to come in and it would have failed, what would that look like? What would things that I would need to do, but also what would they do to help to make us fail? And it's happened before to everyone, especially because there's, it could work in one community, one space, one type of school in the school district, but another time it could be great and it just whatever. So it's really asking, what are some of the challenges that those teachers, admin, or whatever they're going through, that I could be able to come in and touch on that, because I'm all about touching minds, hearts, and attitudes. So that's one thing I like when we design, is looking at the person that the liaison. How do we touch the minds, hearts, and attitudes, and what would it take for us to be able to do that, even though we're covering restorative leadership or culture, whatever it may be. So, and then those activities around that are going to be applicable to that need. So that's how the role of empathy plays in us designing it. Again, it's just touching that mind, hearts, and attitude. What does it look like for them specifically? Because when it's not them, you will miss the target audience, and it can go south and fast. And some unfortunate, it resonate with them to not work with you in the future. So that's and then on a positive note, when you do, they want more and more and more. And I want to use the word upselling, but I just want to continue to bring you back in, and they tell other people about you, and then they also want more, so they can pass on that excitement and reverberate, whatever your company is or your institute or organization. They want to continue to work with that because you did that for them.
I love that. So stepping into their shoes, seeing things from their perspective. Absolutely love that. That makes a lot of sense. All right, great. So now which way do I go? Left or right? Left or right? Let me go. I'm going to go to Jeff because I see you're already unmuted. So what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. There's when you're looking at empathy, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, right? But this is just the instructional coach coming out, right? You need to create things that are going to attract your audience, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a podcast, doesn't matter if it's an ISTE presentation or an ed camp or even just a lesson plan to your middle school kids. When you're creating this stuff, you need to give up a little part of yourself. As an example, yesterday, when name dropping, when I was at the Google thing, there was a lot of people that got up that talked about, look at what I can do, look at what I can do, look at what I can do, and here's all the great things I can. But I kind of turned my presentation around and I said, look at what my kids are doing. And I ended my last couple of slides with, and here's the actual growth in, I gave the data. Here is the reason why we are doing this. Here's the reason why I'm sharing this topic. And I'll put the link to everything in the chat here. But here's the reasons why, and here's the results. And then you actually start getting people sitting back going, okay, I can see myself doing that. Let me find out more. Which is different than having somebody get up there and talk about how great they think they are and how many wonderful things. Those are the times when people are just backing off and going, well, good for you. When you put the audience into the presentation, podcast, lesson plan, whatever, conversation, dinner party, and you allow them to see themselves taking part of the actual event that you're sharing, That is empathy right there. That is having the ability to actually bring people into that conversation. And to Elizabeth and everybody else here, all you need to do is, and this is sounding kind of weird, but you guys know me by now, open up your heart a little bit to them. And that's how you start growing that audience. That's how you start growing that community. And that's why EduMatch has been amazing for the last 12 years. And I will always say this, and I've said this on camera to you many times. That's that's why EduMatch has always been an inspiration to the work I'm doing. It's look at the community that's here because Sarah opens up her heart to everybody, shares about what she's doing, shares the why, and not only that, she shares the how. And that's how you start to facilitate professional learning that really resonates with people.
I really appreciate your kind words. Like that is very, very kind. And likewise, we're also incredibly inspired by the work that you do as well. And everybody here, like I'm looking at all of our panelists and everybody in the chat, and I'm just like, wow, we have like some heavy hitters in this room. So super excited to be here with all of you. So thank you all so much. And we're going to close this portion out with the Faginator. So what are your thoughts on the role of empathy in professional learning?
One of the things that I promised to myself when I left the classroom to take my position as an instructional technology coach is that I would never forget what it was like to be a classroom teacher. So when I am planning my professional learning for the year, going into a school, or just meeting one-on-one with a teacher, I remember what it was like. I don't want to sit and be told that I have to do something a certain way because I'm not the expert in other people's classrooms. And if I go in there believing that I know more than they do, they're going to shut me down quickly. We have to remember that our teachers are people too. And if we forget that, then we're out of a job. I want my teachers to know that when I come to talk to them, I have their best interest at heart. And if I'm telling you or showing you how to use a tech tool, it's because I want to make your job easier. I want your students to be successful. I want you to not have to spend hours grading, exit tickets or whatever. That's what I want for our teachers because we do hard work. And I want them to find the joy in what they're doing because that's what is going to drive them for if they want to work for 30 years, they've got to have that passion. When we talk about the why, get back to the why. That's all Leslie really cares about. I want our people to be happy.
Absolutely. Definitely supporting our educators and remembering remembering being in that position. That is fantastic. So I saw that Josue wanted to add on to that.
When I work with any type of our training, I always say that I'm a teacher, regardless of however I've been out of the classroom, out of the K-12 system. And I always start off with an objective. That starts with the empathy. It's like, that's not someone just throwing training topics or a cookie cutter thing they designed. So if you have an objective, and then at the end, I'm asking, did you achieve the objectives? Now it's more like, I designed like we're doing for our students. Did the students achieve it? Not the 80%. Did all of you achieve those expectations? Because it was designed for you. Did you achieve it? So that's to me one thing of empathy also. So if I'm doing it, modeling it for you, that shows some empathy that when you're teaching almost every single day, are you doing the same for children or the adults that you're preparing for?
Definitely powerful words from each of you. So thank you so much. Going to the chat, I'm seeing that Alana has said empathize that teachers come with that all why can't I read today? Empathize that teachers all come with different experiences, so some professional learning is not going to hit everyone the same way. Absolutely. All right, and I'm just kind of scrolling. Love what Stormy said, learners driving their own experience, just like in the classroom. Yes. So agreeing with someone on panel. And Mandy was saying, well, I mostly give PD for educators for mental health. So empathy, yeah, that's part of it. Couldn't do it without it. However, I also create lots of ed tech PD and it belongs there too, especially when not everyone is excited about technology as we are. All right. So great stuff here. And so these are fantastic questions. I see that there's a lot more great conversation in the chat, but just for the interest of time, wanted to go to the next section, which is the Q&A. So we do have one question in the chat. So the question is, how do you find time to do it all? So let's ask our participants and also everybody who is, or I'm sorry, let's ask our panelists and also everyone participating in chat. Please share your best tips on how you can find time to do it all.
So there's a couple things that we all have to keep in mind, because this might come as a surprise. I get that question a lot, right? I'm not doing it all, right? The internet is a huge place, right? And let's just play the game. I'm not doing it all. People like John Sowash, people like Eric Kurtz, they're doing a lot of the Google stuff. People like the Mike Tolfsons, they're doing the Microsoft stuff. People like the Sarah, she's doing the community-driven stuff. I'm not doing it all. I'm just playing my part in the community that is the greater community. So that way, when you do go to a Twitter or a LinkedIn, you can find where your tribes are. You can figure out, where do I get my Microsoft, Google, ISD, right? My role that I've been trying to carve out is instructional coaching and productivity. I'm focusing down on that. I'm not trying to do it all. It's when you do try to do it all that it doesn't work. You can also trust me on that one, right? And so I think, as I mentioned to somebody earlier, like, what's your passion topic? For me, I like talking to instructional coaches and I like saving people some time. Why? I'm an instructional coach and I'm the triplet dad, right? Like, I love talking about how do we save people time and what are the tools and applications and ways to do all that stuff so you have more time with your kids. Don't think that you have to do it all. That's when you freeze and you don't do any. But if you just sit down and go, okay, I see this guy's doing this, and this girl's doing this, and this person's doing that, where do I fit into that conversation? And how can I inspire somebody? If I can do that at least once a week with a podcast episode or a blog post or a tweet or a, doing something like this for the community, I'm not doing it all.
I love that. I love that. Definitely pacing yourself and prioritizing. And I've gotten quite a few coaches in a few different areas of my life, and like my question has shifted to them more about prioritization. Like, if all of these plates are spinning, which are the plates not to drop? And focusing on those big rocks has really helped me quite a bit. Great. Any other thoughts from our panelists or in chat? That's funny, Mandy. I do not do it all. No, I don't. Oh, man.
I like how Jeff put it, and it's exactly true. In addition to that, because I do get calls to do several different things to support schools and organizations, I, like Jeff, find the people that are the experts. And Gomo was initially started with me while I was trying to do it all. And I started like, man, I can't do this. I don't know that. And feeling I got a lot of imposter syndrome. But as soon as I started finding just the key people, this is your area. Great. Can you support me with that? And then they lead it, and I just say, go for it, because what makes you look good also makes me look good. And we can actually do this together as far as moving forward. So I'm finding experts in other areas to be able to support me, and I support them simultaneously.
Love that. Love that. Working together. All right. And Faginator, looked like you were also about to say something.
Yes, I agree. And I've found out that you can't do it all. I was trying to be everywhere and present at conferences and just do all kinds of things. And I realized that at this point in time, and this is going to go a lot along with what Mandy says, mental health is very important. And after many, many years of not taking care of mine, I found my therapist again, because when you're trying to do it all, you end up letting some things go. And I will be honest, I have no idea how Jeff manages 3 children, because I'm having a hard time with just one.
My wife is wonderful. I want to make sure that's on the recording. My wife is wonderful.
Okay, well, I need your wife to come down to Georgia, because I'm doing this by myself.
If she does, she's taking the kids with her.
Wait a minute. Is one of the triplets a boy?
I've got 2 boys, and yes.
Well, my son needs some playmates, and sorry, Sarah, but we're going to work this out because he wants to play soccer.
Babysitting is not an Eagle Scout project. I'm sorry.
Well, no, he's trying to play soccer, so he needs somebody to play soccer with. So you bring your boys down here; they can play soccer. I will have time to
I,
rest.
I think we're still on the recording here, Leslie.
We are sorry. Okay, it's all about mental health because when you try to do it all, you can't. And right now, what's important to me is making sure that my child is taken care of and making sure that I can get this robotics thing off the ground because I know that we have children here who are looking for something to do. And if they can learn how to code and work together, and if we can get to Dallas next year, that would be amazing because a lot of these kids don't know what it is to dream and to have something to work towards. And I want to give them that opportunity. And if they end up, putting rockets in space or whatever, if we're still doing that in 40 years, that's amazing. That's what I'm passionate about right now. So we'll see where that goes. And, y'all want to come along for the ride, you can. And if I need some help, I know where to go.
Love it. Yes. Yes. The EduMatch fam will always have your back, Vegator. So awesomeness. And I saw in the chat, Mandy said 5 a day. Please check out her book. Like, look up her name, Mandy Freilich, and 5 a day. She has an amazing book that she's put together that helps people prioritize. I use her system. I kind of put it in Chat GPT sometimes and have it like spit out to me what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's pretty cool. And then Stormy says, what I've realized, choose what is important and make sure you're staying inspired. As soon as your light starts to dim, refocus on your purpose. When you feel lost, rejoin what started your journey. EduMatch is that for me. Thank you so much, Stormy. That means a lot. That just got me right in the field. So appreciate you. And let's see here. And I am I'm scrolling down through the chat and love it. Love all the conversations. So that is great. So we have about 10 minutes remaining. We're going to end with a few invitations to you all. So we want to invite you all to connect further with the EduMatch community. And please share this with your friends. Like, just let folks know that Backstreet's back and we're doing everything that we used to do and then some. So the very first thing is our next EduMatch Connect, which will be on a Sunday, our usual time, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I actually was looking at the calendar wrong, but I'm glad I did because tomorrow's a holiday. So it kind of worked out that this first time was on a Saturday. But next EduMatch Connect will be Sunday, June 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be the same exact link that you all use to sign up for this. You don't need to re-sign up. You just need to come back to this link. You're already in, so you can access any EduMatch Connects from here on out. If you want to be on panel, if you look under module 3, there is a form that you can just fill out, choose the episodes that you'd like to be on, and we'll get you added to those. And as y'all know, it's first come, first serve. So looking forward to having some great discussions. All right. Oh, and I didn't even talk about the topic. The topic will be digital citizenship for that one. And we will be looking over a lot of resources from Common Sense Education for that one. So any of our Common Sense fans, and this one might be for you. And in addition, we will be doing a webinar that is coming up in 10 days. This is why digital equity matters more now than ever. And that is going to be on May 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We're not leaving as a title. I felt that was appropriate. I don't know if y'all have seen that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street. There's another word in that quote. We're not leaving. And that's kind of how I feel about the work that we do for our students, what we do for our kids. And, right now, everything is kind of in limbo. A lot of things are in limbo in education. And when you think about equity and diversity, inclusion, things of that nature, then those are in jeopardy. But the work has to continue, so we have to protect our most vulnerable students, our most marginalized students. So definitely join us for this webinar. The link is available at events.edumatch.org/not-leaving. So hope to see you all there. Please do sign up. And question in the chat about will the recording be available? Yes, the recording will be available if you sign up. So we'll get you that recording. So please make sure to sign up. And in addition, if you are getting ready for summer, the my box kind of moved, so sorry about that. But work with us is supposed to be kind of highlighted on this screen. But especially for central office teams that are getting ready for summer, then you might want to just book a call with us, because we do have some very powerful professional learning series and asynchronous learning going on. So definitely check us out. Go to the Work With Us tab, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one over, and just click on schools and districts, and just click on the red button that says Work With Us and fill out the form, and we'll set up a discovery call with you all to see how we can support your learning. All right. And we're also open to calls for the 2025-2026 school year. So looking forward to that. Now, is everybody ready for our special announcement? Oh, I'm super geeked about this. Super geeked. Okay, we've been holding this in, but I think that people in our community are going to be super excited to know who our latest partner is. You know, I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of a lot of people on their team. And it's just a dream come true to be able to work with our newest partner. So here it is. Brrr. Check out Book Creator. So EduMatch and Book Creator are now partners. We're super excited to be going in on some partnership and collaboration with them. So definitely check them out, bookcreator.com, if you have not already. It's a natural synergy because, you know, we are huge proponents of educators and students sharing their story, and Book Creator is all about that life. So definitely check them out. They have some amazing webinars and some wonderful resources for educators and for students. So with all that being said, definitely want to thank you for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and all of your support and awesomeness and wonderfulness. Really appreciate you all. We hope to see you again in the very near future. So thank you all so very much, and have a wonderful evening. So I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'm going to stop the recording.